Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you. This is Encounter. Today we have a very special guest with us. We have Swami Purnachaitanya, who is an international director for the Art of Living Foundation. He has traveled many places in the world, and recently he has been focusing on the African continent. Today we welcome him in Mauritius. Swami, thank you very much for being here, and a very warm welcome to you in the MBC.
Thank you so much, Roshan. It's very nice to be here.
Thank you. My first question to you would be, you're such a young person. I know many people have asked you that. What drives you? What is your motivation to share the teachings of Art of Living?
Basically, even when I was a child, when I was young, I used to have this desire or this idea that I would like to do something which is useful for the world. So not just about me, that I want to have a nice house or a nice car, or I want to achieve this and this and this. I had this strong longing or urge to make a difference. And even when I used to think about my life, how it would be, it wasn't really clear yet, but I had this thing that, okay, basically a little bit how a monk lives. No? You roam around with less belongings and making a difference wherever you go. And I used to practice different martial arts when I was young, in my childhood, my youth, college days. What used to happen is there is an aspect of, you can say, mindfulness, managing the mind, the breathing techniques, meditation, but then it's limited because now it's mostly practiced as a sport. So, and in school also we used to learn a little bit about the different traditions. So you learn a little bit about the different religions, philosophies, and somehow the Eastern traditions appealed a lot more to me. It seemed more practical, more connected with our day-to-day life. And that is when I started looking for something authentic. I said, yeah, I want to go deeper. I want to learn more about myself, about how the mind works, the consciousness works. And when I was 16 years old, I met Sri Ravi Shankar, the founder of the Art of Living, for the first time in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. He came for a public talk, and meeting him, seeing him, his presence, some of the things he said, which really clicked. And then he conducted a guided meditation also, which felt like just 2-3 minutes, but 25 minutes flew by. So then I knew that, yeah, this is what I was looking for. No? Something authentic. You have a living master, a real spiritual master, who doesn't talk something airy-fairy or hi-fi, but very practical, and that can give you an experience of what is truth, what is really what you are, what we are here for. And then I started doing some of the programs of the Art of Living, and I started practicing some of the breathing techniques, the meditation, and I experienced for myself the benefits of these things, the result it had, how useful it was, and some understanding of how the mind works, how the consciousness works. And then when I saw that not just me but many other people are having similar benefits, they're benefiting in so many ways from these programs, I decided I would like to become a trainer for these, like to teach this also to people. And after a few years I realized that this is something so useful and so beautiful, and there is so much more to learn and to explore, that I thought that this is something I would like to do with my life. This is how I would like to give meaning to my life or to contribute.
There are many followers of the Art of Living Foundation nowadays, and more people are joining. Is it mainly because of the Sudarshan Kriya course?
Definitely, that is one of the things. I think one thing what we see all over the world is that earlier also spirituality as a term used to be something a little bit airy-fairy.
Exactly.
It's like a hippie thing, and it was without any foundation. It was that whole little flower power kind of thing, where many people could maybe not relate, or it was seen as something which is not practical.
Like, because science could not prove it also.
Yeah, so sometimes people used to say, like, how do we find a balance between like spirituality and like your day-to-day life or your professional life? But if you look at the way I define spirituality is, and what my master Sri Ravi Shankar once very nicely he put it, he said, no, spirituality simply means anything that uplifts the spirit. It can be singing, it can be doing something creative, definitely meditation, breathing techniques help, practical wisdom, and more I think people are realizing that we are not just the body. You have a mind, you have a consciousness, and you cannot ignore that. If you see, even just from a physical health point of view, nowadays most of the health problems that people are facing and the most recent challenges we see are what they call psychosomatic, which means they are partially or entirely created by stress.
Exactly.
So people are realizing now that you may have everything in the world, but if your mind is disturbed, you won't be able to enjoy it. And this is what we see, in Europe, so many people are affected by depression, not because they're not comfortable or because they don't have a roof over their head or they don't have a job.
It's a state of mind.
Yeah, so because life is becoming more and more stressful, hectic, it's speeding up, society has become more individualized, many of the human values are taking a back seat, and that is when we see that people are becoming stressful or lonely or depressed or anxious. And one of the beautiful things of the Sudarshan Kriya is that it is a very practical tool. It is a breathing technique. It has nothing to do whether you believe in it or not, you just have to breathe in the proper way. But people see such a drastic improvement in not just the physical wellness, but also on the mental and the emotional aspect, where they find that the mind is much more peaceful, their emotions become more harmonious, they are able to connect more with the people around them, they are less affected by the challenging situations around them. And a lot of research has been done over the last few decades, because see, normal public, when they do the program, they get the benefit, they're happy. It's like when we use a mobile phone, we're not concerned about how it works. We're happy that when you dial the number, the other guy
It's
picks up
connected, yeah.
and the message goes through.
Yeah.
But if you have an engineer, then he wants to know, how does it work? So we have many doctors and therapists and people who've done the programs who used to ask this question, that we see all this transformation, we see people have these benefits, whether it's physical health benefits or mental or emotional. How does it work? So a lot of research has been done, and they've come up with amazing results. Our job is a little more simple. We just teach it to the people, they get the benefits. But it's amazing to see that even, for example, with prisoners, we have a lot of programs also in the prisons across the world, where because our
the prisons program is one of the major programs of the Art of Living.
Yeah, one of our service
in many countries, right?
Yeah, many countries, and one of our main service initiatives, you can say. And because the prison system in many places, is not really equipped to transform the individual. We take them out of circulation, you put them in jail, but when they come out, many of them, they go back to a life of crime or they go back to a life of violence, because they have not learned the tools to deal with the stress or the tension or the anxiety or the trauma or the things that put them there in the first place. Many prisoners, many of these inmates, criminals, if you talk to them, it's not that they consciously decided to go and kill a person, for example. No, they came to a point where they were so angry or frustrated or insecure, or that they did something, and it brings with it a certain trauma also. Because if you tell them, okay, you take responsibility for what you did, but they said, at that moment, I was not aware, I was not in control. So that brings a fear that this can happen anytime again.
Surely.
And we've had people after the program where they said, no, with these tools, I have gained back that inner peace. I came back in touch with a part of me which is still untouched, which is pure, which is free from all these emotions, and said, now I can actually take responsibility for what I've done, and I can actually promise I won't do it again. And this is touching.
And another part of the Kriya Yoga is, even if people have done, let's call it mistakes,
Yeah.
there's an accumulation of emotions that is stored within them. The Sudarshan Kriya is a way also to release those emotions.
Definitely.
So it's a work from the inside towards the outside,
Yeah.
rather than the other way around, which has not been successful.
Yeah. Even if you say on the level of the society of the world, that is basically you can say the philosophy of the art of living, the idea behind the movement of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, where he said, no, we want to transform the society by strengthening the individual, where we say that, okay, the individual is the foundation. So if you want to have, harmonious families, peaceful societies, a prosperous world, we need to start with the individual. If you have individual peace, that is when the family gets affected, that's when the society. But if you say we want to, from the top, we want to somehow make the society peaceful, you cannot have a peaceful world, even if you have a handful of people who are so stressed or frustrated or misguided. And we've seen this we talk about the terror attacks, so we have to look at the individual. And in the same way, like you said, the Sudarshan Kriya works from the inside out, you can say. The same way we see that when individuals get inspired, empowered, they become agents of change in their society, in their community, and a lot of beautiful things are happening all over the world.
During uni, you mentioned that you were practicing a breathing technique that helped you study or even do well at your exams. Was it the breathing technique from Art of Living?
Yes, yes.
So it was that you were already practicing the Sudarshan Kriya.
Yes, I met
on a daily basis.
Yeah, I met Sri Sri Ravi Shankar when I was 16. I was still in high school.
Yeah,
and that is when I started doing the programs of the Art of Living as well. So 2 years down the line, when I started university, I had done some of the advanced programs. So I was already, you can a little bit say, a seasoned practitioner, even at that age, which of course was a little uncommon. But I'm very grateful for that, because it's given me so much, and it has also allowed me to come to a point where the moment I finished my studies, I had that clarity that I said, okay, this is what I want to do with my life, and I could take it from there.
So the breathing technique is putting your hands up and breathing out, right?
That is just one of them.
That's one of them. That's the easiest one to learn, right?
Yeah. But the Sudarshan Kriya is a little more elaborate.
The more you practice, the more you will learn more, I think. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and that's what we usually tell people. Like sometimes people ask me, can we learn it from video, YouTube or something? But then if you see, even in the tradition, the scriptures on yoga and meditation and all these things, and even in the martial arts, they always emphasize that, you need to learn this from a master. From someone who has mastered it. Exactly, you need a guru. And if people say, no, but we have so many videos on YouTube, even for yoga, you can see nowadays. But then the challenge is that a YouTube video will not correct you, will not be able to guide you personally, because everybody is unique. Your body is different. You may have some different health conditions, or you may be thinking that you're practicing something correctly, but you're not. And then you may not get the results. It can even be harmful. So that's why we have these short programs in the Art of Living, where we teach people a nice package, practical tools. And then after that, you can go home and practice wherever you want. But at least you've learned it properly.
From what I've understood is you don't practice martial arts as you used to in your younger years.
Correct.
Now you're more into yoga.
Yeah, and I simply don't have the time.
Because you're busy traveling around, like you're in Mauritius right now. Yeah. So you'll be conducting a few courses in Mauritius.
Yes, we are finishing one program today. We have a lovely batch, more than 100 people actually, so it's very good response. All different sizes, shapes, colors, age groups, but this is our introductory program, the happiness program, and I have 2 more programs while I'm here, and I'm very happy that I got a chance to come to Mauritius. People used to tell me it's such a beautiful place.
It is,
and it is indeed. Yeah, so I had a little chance to go around also already, and but even the last few months I've been touring different countries in Africa, and it's very encouraging to see the response. And like you said, people becoming more and more aware and conscious that we cannot neglect the mental and emotional health if you want to be happy, healthy and peaceful in life.
What has brought you to start practicing yoga? Is it part of the program, or is it something you're doing on your own? Is there a reason why you do it?
Yeah, so it is a part of the program. Most of our programs, we just have a small you can say module where we teach some basic asanas, some stretches, along with the breathing exercises, the breathing techniques and the meditation. And I have to admit, in the early days, I was not so interested in the yoga part. The breathing techniques and the meditation was really nice. Otherwise, I was doing my martial arts, my other sports, and I was more drawn towards the knowledge also, to understand how the mind works, some of the scriptures on yoga. But then over the years, especially the recent years, I've gone a little deeper into the asana aspect as well, the yoga, and I've realized that if you practice it in the traditional way, where it's more meditative also, it has many benefits, and like what we see in some of the martial arts also, even the movement becomes a meditation. And the beautiful thing is that in the scriptures of yoga, they actually don't define the asana practice as something where you have to become very flexible, or they never say that you have to touch your toes, or only then you will get enlightened.
You have to have a sense of wellness.
Yeah, and they say that the real asana is which is steady and comfortable, and then being able to relax in the effort. So the body is putting effort, but the mind is relaxed. And what I started realizing is that it's not just that morning half an hour, 1 hour on your yoga mat. It's you're training the mind to be still and steady amidst activity, amidst putting effort, which is a quality which you start carrying throughout the day. So you may be running around in your office. I may be managing so many projects. So physically I'm running around, I'm doing so many things, but there is some part of you which is still, which makes for your mind to be so much more focused. It saves you a lot of energy, because most of our energy goes in worrying. We're not doing hard physical labor,
No.
So you're getting less and less stressed. So it's complementary to the practice of the breathing techniques and the meditation.
There's a misconception about yoga where people tend to think it's more about the physical aspect, while yoga is a way of living where you go beyond the physical aspect and keep that state of mind throughout the day. This is what
Definitely.
I think there's a misconception on
Yeah.
what yoga is.
I would say yoga is definitely not for those who are fit only. It is for everyone. And the beautiful thing, I have had so many people in my programs who may have had certain health problems and conditions, and by practicing yoga in the proper way, maybe in a gentle manner, or maybe you have to start with a few things, but they've seen a huge improvement in their physical state, their mental well-being. The second thing is that yoga is only the physical postures. It's just a very small part of yoga.
Exactly.
The philosophy, the science of yoga is so much more vast. And the third thing, sometimes I've seen also in other places where they think, oh, yoga is a religious thing, that you can only practice it if you follow certain traditions, or that it clashes with certain traditions, which I think it's a beautiful thing that now we have an International Day of Yoga, because many people used to shy away from a practice which can benefit them in so many ways because of this unfounded concern. See, in today's world, we have embraced food from all over the world. No? Here also, you get your Mac, you get your Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you get your pizza and chips, which is not an indigenous Mauritian food. No?
No.
Everybody has clothes from all over the world. We have embraced music and movies from all over the world. So we are living in a world which is more and more a global family or a global village. We have embraced things from all over. The only thing where till recently people are still a little shy was to embrace wisdom from all over the world. No? And it's very nice to see that more and more people are realizing that stretching in a certain way or breathing in a certain way is not going to interfere with your faith. Rather, it complements it. No, we have programs in places like Iraq where we have so many teachers who are local people. They are Muslims, they're practicing, and they're benefiting so much. No, we have programs for the widows from war victims. We have vocational training centers running there. We're working in the camps of those who were affected by the ISIS.
Yeah.
And the same way, we have people who teach these programs in countries all over the world. And I met a few nuns from Russia a few months back, and we had an interaction because they had done one of the programs that they had come to visit our headquarters in Bangalore. They were there for a study tour in India, and they wanted to visit because they knew about the art of living. And then I was just talking to them, and they said, it was so beautiful because these practices have deepened our faith. And I think that is the thing that we see in many of the traditional religions in the world today. The spiritual aspect has taken a little bit of a back seat somewhere, where we say religion can be three parts. It is the customs and the practices, the symbols, and the third part is the human values or the spirituality, you can say. And we see that in many places where the emphasis is over the years or over the centuries has shifted more to put emphasis on the practices, that many people are saying that they are not so interested. Like in Europe, many people don't go to church. In places, people say we're not, the youth especially, they're not interested to go to temple or to the mosque, or because they say, I'm not getting an experience there. I can do the thing mechanically, and I think that's why maybe also one of the reasons that more and more people across the world, they're turning to meditation, to mindfulness, to yoga, because it allows them to connect with some part of them which is more than just the body and mind, and people are looking for that. They're looking for an authentic experience.
A lot of the work that you do involves teaching human values, but if you're teaching human values, it also teaches you to be a leader.
Yes.
So they're both very closely.
Yeah.
But do you have to be a leader to teach leadership?
The thing is, to teach leadership, one, of course, you need to be inspiring, otherwise nobody will come and listen to you. At the same time, I think that more and more people are realizing that real leadership comes from a space of service. And that we see whether it is in politics, or the moment that service takes a back seat, and people are more concerned about their position or their personal gain, or that is where the system starts failing. And the beautiful thing is that what we see with the Art of Living Foundation, in just less than 40 years, it has spread to 160 countries across the world. We have hundreds and thousands of volunteers, and all these people, they're offering their services in some way or the other, because what happens is when you become more peaceful, when you become more contented, more fulfilled, it is natural that you want to start serving. And the more you feel a sense of belongingness with the world around you, with the people around you, taking responsibility comes naturally. Like how people say that I feel responsible for my children or for my house because it's mine. You know, that's, you don't feel responsible for the person next door maybe. Some people do because they have a
Yes.
great sense of belonging. They say, no,
Yes.
this is my neighbor, or this is my village, or this is my country.
Or this is a human being just like me.
Exactly. So you see, the more peaceful people become, the more they become free from stresses and strains. What happens is that naturally they start feeling more connected to the world around them. They start taking more responsibility for the world around them. And taking that responsibility empowers them. And the more you take responsibility, the more powerful you become, the more you become a leader.
Before wrapping up this interview, I'm sure there are many youngsters watching us on TV. Again, I'm saying you're still very young. What drives you? What is your motivation in spreading the teachings of art of living? Why are you at the service of humanity? What is your trigger?
On one hand, I cannot claim full credit because, like I said, even when I was very young, that seed was there, the urge was there. But then personally for me,
As of now in your
yeah,
life, yeah.
But what I've seen is that every day when I get to see that at least in a few people, it may be hundreds, it may be thousands, it may be just a handful or maybe one person, but I'm able to make a positive contribution to their life, I'm able to help them in some way or the other, to make a difference, that gives a kind of fulfillment that you don't get anywhere else. And I've had a job, I've worked for myself, I've earned money, but I used to ask myself that, you know, this can't be all. No, this is not it. This is not enough for me. And I've seen that you can have everything in the world, all the comforts, but that real fulfillment in life, it only comes from service. And that is something which I have experienced and which keeps driving me, because some of the places I work, it may not be comfortable. No, I've worked in jungle areas, in remote places where some of the basic amenities or facilities or even the food which I'm used to may not be available. But then this gives such a kind of fulfillment and inspiration in life that that it trumps all of these. You know, it surpasses all of these. And if at all I can give an advice to people who are looking for more satisfaction, because now we talk about job satisfaction, but a job doesn't give you real satisfaction unless it has an element of service. Of course, some people, they say I'm a doctor, but sometimes I go and I give a free medical checkup, or you have a teacher who stays back after hours without getting paid to help that few students who really need some help. That is also service. But unless you add some aspect in your life of service, it may be just a few hours a week, or that real satisfaction won't come. And once you get a taste of that, it's difficult to leave it. Yeah.
So what would be the advice you give to people?
That make service a part of your life in some way or the other. And another thing is, don't neglect this aspect of learning a little bit more about how the mind works, about the consciousness, about who we are really, not just the body. Because like I said, you can have all the comforts in the world, you may be the most successful person, but unless your mind is peaceful, you won't be able to enjoy it.
So I've just asked you what is enough for you. So probably what is enough for you is when the mind is peaceful.
Yeah.
That is the target, that is the objective.
Nowadays, even that I'm not so worried about it. It's more of I take it for granted in my case. But for me, I would say that, I keep asking myself at every step that how can I be useful, or how can I be more useful? And it's good to keep asking that question, because the answer keeps changing. The situations around you may change.
You're at different levels of truth at different times of your life.
Yeah, and in different places. Like now I'm here in Mauritius, so we see, okay, what can I contribute here? What more can we do? How can I guide our people? How can we reach out to more people? When I'm in Zimbabwe, the situation is different. When I'm in India or when I'm in Hong Kong, again, the situation may require something else. But that is what drives me, and along with that, to see that if sometimes I'm not sure, okay, what would my master do in this situation?
Oh, wow. Very inspiring words. Well, thank you very much for being with us for this episode of Encounter. Keep up the good work and all the best going forward. I hope this is not the last time you're coming to Mauritius. And all the best.
I also hope I can come back. Thank you, Rashid.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. If you have any queries, questions, suggestions, or proposals on the topic that has been discussed, or on the guests today, please send an email at encounter@mbc.ipnet.mu. Until then, we'll catch you again on the same channel next week at the same time. Bye-bye.